Kami harapkan Bapak Ibu sekalian juga terhubung dari koneksi internet yang memadai dan juga koneksi yang stabil. Di sini kami juga memiliki fitur interpretasi di mana Bapak Ibu bisa memilih untuk mendengarkan diskusi baik dalam bahasa Inggris maupun bahasa Indonesia. Jika memang ingin mendengarkan diskusi dalam bahasa Indonesia, silakan klik tombol interpretation yang berada di bawah layar Zoom Bapak Ibu dan pilih bahasa Indonesia. Lalu jika ingin mendengarkan diskusi dalam bahasa Inggris, pilihlah interpretation English untuk mendengarkan diskusi dalam bahasa Inggris. Sekali lagi, terima kasih. Selamat bergabung dan acara akan kami mulai sesaat lagi. Terima kasih. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to DKI Jakarta's commitment to electrify public transport fleets and current efforts, Day 1. Before we begin our discussion, please do allow me to read the house rules for today's event. First, before entering the workshop and when entering the workshop, please do click the Join Audio button. Next, we also wish that you access the Zoom from a stable internet network connection. And next, we would like to also inform you that we have an interpretation feature available, and how to use this interpretation feature. Please do click on the interpretation button that is located on the bottom screen of your Zoom. And there will be two choices, which is Bahasa Indonesia and also English. If you would like to listen to the discussion in English, please do click the English button. But if you'd like to listen to the discussion in Bahasa Indonesia, please do click the Bahasa Indonesia or the Indonesian button. And once again, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Jakarta e-Mobility Event Day 1. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Ladies and gentlemen, the Honorable Governor of Jakarta, Bapak Anies Rashid Baswedan, Mr. Agus Cahayana Wirakusuma, the Special Advisor to the Minister of Energy and Mineral Resources for Industry Development Acceleration, Her Excellency Ms. Ina Lepel, the Ambassador of the Federal Republic of Germany to Indonesia, ASEAN, and Timor-Leste, Her Excellency Marina Berg, the Ambassador of Sweden to Indonesia, Mr. Rob Penn, the Head of Mission for the British Embassy, Jakarta, Ms. Heather Thompson, the CEO of Institute of Transport and Development Policy, Ibu Sri Haryati, Economic and Finance Assistant of Jakarta Provincial Secretary, Bapak Syafrin Liputo, the head of Transportation Agency DKI Jakarta. And ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Jakarta e-mobility event day 1. My name is Sarah Wayne, and it is an honor for me to be the master of ceremony and also moderator of today's event. And ladies and gentlemen, Jakarta has been named as the host city for the Urban 20 or U20, which is a series of events amongst mayors of the G20 cities that aims to support the climate crisis by championing and accelerating the transition to carbon neutral, inclusive, and resilient societies. And to achieve this goal, a large emphasis has been placed on energy transition as the key element to be able to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and also mitigate the effects of climate change itself. As an effort to reduce the GHG emissions, the Indonesian government has been promoting a sustainable and clean transport system by issuing the presidential decree on acceleration battery electric vehicle programs for road transportation in 2019. And therefore, in this effort, we will also further discuss the issue and also the efforts in our webinar. And today we'll be having 2 sessions in which we are to start the first session for today, which is the high-level ceremonial event, DKI Jakarta's commitment to electrify transport fleets and also the current efforts. And we'll also be continued later on with the second session with more discussions and also the handover and dissemination of findings as well. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, we will begin our first session this morning with a keynote speech and welcoming remarks from the Governor of DKI Jakarta, Bapak Haji Anies Baswedan. Therefore, without further ado, I would like to present the screen to Bapak Anies Baswedan.
Wabarakatuh. Let me repeat. Thank you, Sarah. Good morning, everyone. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Greetings from Jakarta, distinguished speakers, panelists, and all participants. It is indeed, it's a bright Tuesday morning in Jakarta, reflecting the spirit of Jakarta that is looking forward for a greener city and for sustainable mobility within our beloved city. So allow me in these occasions to share some of our thought regarding our commitment here in Jakarta for electrifying our public transport. It is indeed undeniable that transport sector generates the largest share of greenhouse gas emissions. And today's cities across the globe are facing the same thing. We all are the front lines of climate change and congestions. Since Jakarta is committed to reducing greenhouse gas emissions by 30% in the year 2030, which is 8 years from today, and reaching net zero emissions by 2050, so Jakarta initiates a sustainable mobility through the integrated transport system. Our vision is simple, it's clear that we are transforming our city from traffic congestion, traffic dominated and polluted city into one of a leading city in public and sustainable transport that is safe, that is convenient, and that is sustainable. So I'm honored to host the e-mobility event here in this morning. And we do hope we'll be able to share some of our key milestone achievement. Our ambitions to achieve the net zero by 2050 and its concern on transport sectors are crucial. As a metropolitan area, we have no less than 10 million people and around 4 million people are commuting on daily basis from the satellite cities, and the transportations and mobility, of course, play a key role in sustaining our economic activities as well as our daily lives here in Jakarta. So given that scope, 10 million people within our cities and 4 million are having daily mobility, this high volume of daily mobility the emissions from the transportation sectors has definitely give us major impact on the total emissions. And therefore, it is logical for us to make this as a priority sectors to decarbonize. So that is our fact. On the other hand, we are also a city that express explicit and strong commitment to be involved in the movement to tackle the global climate crisis. And it's not only today. We started in 2012. The Jakarta government has taken serious attentions by committing to make Jakarta as a climate resilient city. And 5 years ago, in 2017, we accelerated our effort to push the climate actions even further and even more ambitious. This is also in line with the report that was just out a few days ago, the IPCC 2022, which highlighted the importance of accelerating climate change adaptations, particularly on political commitment and its implementations. So we're in line with what the IPCC report that was just out a few days ago. And being a climate resilient city, which also means having an ambitious target to cut back greenhouse gas emissions by 50% in 2030. And I'm happy to report that by now we have already achieved 26% reductions. And we are optimistic that we will be able to reach net zero by 2050. This commitment has been outlined through Governor's Regulations number 90, year 2021, about Jakarta's low carbon development plan. So therefore, our city government faces twofold challenge. One, providing an efficient transport system to accommodate more than 20 million trips per day within our province. On the other hand, ensuring the equity and the environmental sustainability of our policy and actions. So this is a twofold challenge that we are facing. How do we tackle this? One of the main problems in Jakarta is congestions, and the derivative of that congestions is externalities. So we envision to transform Jakarta away from a traffic-dominated, from a congested city, from a polluted city, into one of the leading cities in public and sustainable transport that is safe, that is convenient, and inclusive, and of course, sustainable. And to realize these visions, to achieve this vision, we initiated a sustainable mobility through integrated transport system by shifting our paradigm from car-oriented development to transit-oriented development. If we are embarking on a journey that is fundamental, the shift must not only take place on the technical aspect, the shift must also take place from the philosophical, from the paradigm components. If we don't shift that aspect, the technicalities will not be followed. So our major transformations was that paradigm from car-oriented into transit-oriented. And we had major public transportation system improvement implemented during the past few years as a result of that shift. I'll give you one example. The Transjakarta, this is the BRT system, the route expanded and the microtrans integrations has doubled. We used to cover only around 40%. Now we have 82% service coverage. And we have started an operations together with our MRT, our LRT. So an integrations has actually takes place. And the phase 2 of our MRT development is being constructed and to be finished by 2027. This phase will connect the northern part of the city all the way to the most southern part of our city. And we have also increased our public service obligations for public transport by 180% in 2020 compared to the way it was in 2017. Why this is happening? Because we want to ensure that our improvement in public transportation quality still leads to equitable transportation system for each individuals in our city. We have also improved our non-motorized transportation infrastructures. So we're working on 364 kilometers of sidewalks across Jakarta, 12 kilometers of protected bike lanes, and 63 bike sharing spots around the transit area, especially in the city's busiest streets. And our current effort on expanding public transportation coverage and on improving its service quality has led to a fruitful result that we are quite grateful. In just a span of 2 years, public transportation's annual ridership across Jakarta has doubled. And in fact, if we're talking about daily riderships, we used to have around 350,000 passengers per day. We triple it to almost 1 million every day. If we are able to expand our fleet, it means we have the fiscal capacity. But if we are able to see the riderships doubled or tripled, that means there is a shift, there is a change in the people's behavior toward public transport. So because of our effort in integrating public transport under the scheme it's called Jaklingko, our plan on massive cycling network and other innovations that we have been taking place, we're grateful that Jakarta was awarded as the winner of 2021 Sustainable Transport Award. We're grateful, we truly appreciate this, and this is encouraging, not only for us who are serving in government, but this award is for everyone in our city that have decided to leave their private vehicle behind, to leave it in their garage, and they transform into walking, cycling, and taking public transport. Such a phenomenon that we are very grateful, we're very proud of. And furthermore, whenever we're talking about congestions, Jakarta was among the most congested city in the world. According to TomTom Traffic Index, in 2017, we are ranked number 4 worldwide as the most congested cities. And we're grateful since our transformation takes place beginning in the early 2018, our rank in the most congested city has dropped. In 2017, we were number 4. In 2018, we dropped to number 7. In 2019, we dropped to number 10. We were still in the top 10. We don't like to be in the top 10. We'd like to go out. So in 2020, we were ranked 31st worldwide. And by 2021, we would drop to number 46. So imagine, in 5 years, we dropped from the 4th most congested city in the world. Now we are number 46 in the world. This is not simply because of our work in government, but it also means that people, our citizens, bought the idea. They convert their daily routine into a more sustainable approach in their mobility. So with that, we'd like to further accelerate our effort in establishing clean mobility for Jakarta. So we have also pledged to shift our Trans-Jakarta fleet to an electric buses. This is our BRT network. in our fossil fuel-free street pledge. As a C40 city, we're committed to three things. One, implementing 100 electric buses on the existing routes of Transjakarta for our pilot electric buses deployment programs. Number two, replacing half of Jakarta's bus fleet into an electric fleet gradually and complete by 2025. And in addition to that, we commit to ensuring that most of Jakarta area is emission-free by 2030. So those are three commitments that we have pledged. And the plan of transition to electric buses has been implied on the Jakarta Climate Resilience Low Carbon Development Plan. And we'd like doing this as our support to the national government effort on accelerating the deployment of battery electric vehicles at the provincial level. And for that, we have provided a fiscal incentive for electric vehicles by giving 0% transfer tax for both the two-wheelers or the four-wheelers. So any electric vehicles will give them a zero transfer tax. And our government feel delighted to make the announcement this week that Jakarta will begin operating the pilot phase for electric buses under the Transjakarta system. Previously, we put our efforts to conduct a series of pre-trial for several electric buses model. That is a crucial step to evaluate the performance of the fleets before we actually deployed it in a larger scale. And the implementations of electric buses fleet is one of our concrete actions to support the government of Indonesia's accelerations of battery electric vehicles program for road transportations. We do believe that by shifting our public transport fleet to electric vehicles and to encourage people to use public transport, we are expecting to move even further in achieving a better air quality improvement and, of course, a better health conditions for everyone. So the electrifications of our huge public transport fleet of Transjakarta, which currently we have no less than 4,000 units, will also provide the large demand needed by the domestic bus manufacturing industry to achieve economic scales. As we know that the unit cost and the unit price of electric vehicle is still high. If government did not intervene by creating demand, then we are not breaking these cycles of expensive items called electric vehicles. We step in, we created demand, we converted our fleets, and we do hope by that, then the public will eventually able to afford electric vehicle as the unit cost is lower, as the unit price is also lower. Last but not least, the introductions of electric vehicle as public transportation fleet will enable citizens to experience the benefit of using new technology instead of only private vehicles owner. So, and that the public education aspect is even much wider. If individuals have their own private electric vehicles, the experience is limited. But if the electric vehicles is in our public transport, then the experience is massive. The public education is extensive. So we hope this is not only about us achieving clean air, sustainable mobility, but this is also educating our public to understand, to experience electric vehicle and safe, clean technology for mobility. So we aim to utilize the momentum of Jakarta's fleet renewal to electric vehicles to improve the level of our public transportation services, especially to serve the vulnerable communities here in our city. All of this effort, the public electrification especially, to become the sweet spot to kickstart the national transitions to electric vehicle implementations. And of course, Jakarta, we are very keen to lead the movement. So ladies and gentlemen, distinguished speakers and all participants, we realize that the path to electric public transport implementation comes with many, many challenges. But we are here to face challenges and we are here to overcome challenges. So we conducted collaborative actions with our counterparts, such as the national government itself, the international partners, and all collaborators who are joining our event today. We truly appreciate. And in this opportunity, I'd like to underline my gratitude and to convey my appreciations for all the technical assistance programs that support Jakarta transitions to electric fleets, the CFF that support the plannings of the 100 pilot e-buses for Transjakarta, the UNEP CTCN that support the development of Transjakarta BRT and non-BRT electrification roadmap, for the UK PAC that funded the UK government's Department for Business, Energy and Industrial Strategy through UK's International Climate Finance, which supported the development of Transjakarta large-scale electrification action plan, and by providing roadmap focusing on the microbus electrifications and the implementation strategies for the first stage of the large-scale electric buses development. Number 4, allow me to express my appreciations to TUMI e-bus missions that funded the German Federal Ministry for Economic Operations and Development, which support the monitoring and the evaluations of the upcoming Transjakarta 100 pilot electric buses operations. And we do hope we'll be able to share our experience with others. And also appreciation to GIZ, ITDP, ICCT that support and assisted the study and the electrification transitions. So we welcome the upcoming technical assistance of Transjakarta electrifications from the Sweden through the SWID Fund. It is also further collaborations of feasibility studies to achieve our visions about electrified public transport by 2030. We acknowledge that the challenges would not stop at the planning stage. These challenges will continue as we embark on this important and noble journey. I often imagine a journey like this is like building the ship while sailing. And we have to face waves, we have to face winds that is often unpredictable. But we understand we have a lot of partners, reliable partners, where all of you are here today. So the complexities that may emerge on the next stage, from the procurement, from the financings into the operational stage, many of these were predictable, and we in Jakarta realize we are not the first to face these challenges. We are willing to learn, we're open-minded, and we would like to pick up experience from others that have gone through this important journey before our departure lately. So thank you very much for these reasons. I'd like to express again my appreciations and welcomes all potential collaborations on the procuring zero emissions and on achieving sustainable public transport. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished speakers and all participants, it is indeed a great honor for us to share our experience, our visions, and look forward for fruitful and productive discussion this morning. From Jakarta, the warmest welcome, the warmest regards to everyone. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Governor. And we would like to also thank you for the wonderful speech, the wonderful and warm welcome, and especially thank you for your support. And now, ladies and gentlemen and participants, I would like to invite Mr. Agus Chahayana, the Special Advisor to the Minister of Energy and Mineral Resources for Industry Development Acceleration, to give his welcoming remarks for us this morning. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Agus Chahayana.
Thank you, Sarah. The Governor of DKI Jakarta, Bapak Anies Baswedan, the British Ambassador to Indonesia and Timor-Leste, His Excellency Owen Jenskins, the Ambassador of the Federal Republic of Germany to Indonesia, ASEAN, and Timor-Leste, His Excellency Ina Lepel, the CEO, Institute of Transport and Development Policy, Mr. Heather Thompson. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and good morning. First of all, I would like to convey and apologize that Minister of Energy and Mineral Resources of Indonesia, His Excellency Mr. Arifin Tasrif, was unable to attend this prestigious event due to the urgent state duties. And His Excellency expressed his appreciations to the Institute for Transportations of Development Policy for the kind invitations and excellent cooperations in arranging the today's event. Please allow me on behalf of the Minister Arifin Tasrif to welcome all participants on the Jakarta e-mobility event, which is the high-level ceremonial event of DKI Jakarta commitment to electric public transportation fleet and current effort under Urban 20 agenda. I hope this event could increase the capacity of various stakeholders to support the electrifications of public transportation fleets in all cities in Indonesia. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, G20 member countries have major economic power in the world that generate 80% of GDP worldwide, control 75% of trade, contribute 77% of global energy demand, but unfortunately produce carbon emission from energy sectors up to 81%. With the main theme of the G20, recover together, recover stronger, the focus of the G20 presidency of Indonesia lies on three main issues. They are global health architecture, digital transformations, and sustainable energy transitions. Next, on February 10th, 2022, the G20 energy transition was officially launched by the Coordinating Minister for Maritime Affairs and Investment, representing the President of the Republic of Indonesia, together with the Minister of Energy and Mineral Resources. The theme of the G20 energy transition is, next, energy transition towards sustainable recovery and productivity. Strengthen global cleaner energy system and just transitions by focus on three priority issues, namely securing energy accessibility, smart and clean energy technology scaling up, and advancing energy financing. The G20 2022 Roadmap of Implementations of Energy Transition for Working Group, or ETWG, Energy Transition Minister Meeting, or ETMM, and the G20 Summit are as follows. ETWG first in Yogyakarta of 24 to 25 March 2022. ETWG second in Labuan Bajo on 23rd to 24 June 2022. ETWG third in Bali on 31st of August up to 1 September 2022. ETMM in Bali on September 2nd, 2022. 2022, and G20 Summit in Bali on 30th and 31st of October 2022. Through this activity, we strive to be able to agree on the ministerial communique and a global deal to accelerate energy transition as a lighthouse deliverable or the main result document of the energy transition pillar. To support in achieving the ministerial communique agreement, 19-site event will also be held outside the ETWG and ETMM G20 agendas in collaborations with international organizations. Based on roadmap for Indonesia energy transition, next, the main strategy that will be carried out toward carbon neutral on the supply side are, among other, through massive renewable energy development with a focus on solar, hydro, and geothermal power, as well as hydrogen, gradual retirement of the coal-fired power plant, and the use of low-emission technologies such as CCS, CCUS technology, as well as development of super grid to enhance connectivity. And on the demand side are the utilizations of electrical stove and battery electric vehicle or BEV, as well as applications of energy management. Next. In order to encourage the BEV utilization, the government has issued Presidential Regulation number 55 of 2019 concerning the accelerations of the battery electric vehicle program for road transportation. As a follow-up of the President Regulation, the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Resources has issued Regulation number 13 of 2020 concerning charging infrastructure provision for battery electric vehicle, which fulfill the electricity safety provisions, electricity tariff, and cooperation scheme of PTPLN with other business entities. Until 2021, there are 267 unit charging stations have been built on 224 locations, and 260 unit battery exchange stations have been built on 266 locations. Next. As a part of reducing oil import as well as emission reductions, the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Resources has established the conversion program of motorcycles with internal combustion engine or ICE into battery electric motorcycle by 100 units in 2021. This conversion program will be continued in 2022 with a target of 1,000 units and expected to have a positive impact of fuel saving on 2,130 barrels per year, reduce emissions by 645 tons CO2 per year, increase electricity consumption by 400 megawatt hours per year, as well as improving the economy, providing added value for local component converter kit manufacturers, and increasing employment opportunities for technicians and small, medium business vehicle conversion workshop. Seeing the initial positive result, the government has been planning to continue the conversion program with an even larger target of 6 million units in 5 years ahead. The concept will be broadened to encourage people to convert their vehicle voluntarily and their own expense. The BEV program will increase national energy security by reducing dependence on imported fuel, as well as to reduce greenhouse gas emissions to achieve net zero emission target. It is also necessary to use local energy sources, especially new and renewable energy, which can be used for electricity generations as a power provider of electricity for the BEV. In addition, the government prioritized increasing the added value of minerals such as nickel and cobalt as raw material to produce batteries, as the end of products. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, by taking advantage in the momentum of the G20 presidency of Indonesia, I hope that through the Jakarta e-mobility event, innovative ideas can be generated to improve the electrification of public transportations in all cities in Indonesia, as well as can strengthen coordination, synchronization within all stakeholders. Thank you very much. Ministry of Energy and Mineral Resources, Arifin Basri.
And thank you very much for the welcoming remarks, Mr. Agus Cahayana Wirakusuma. And ladies and gentlemen, we will continue to the next agenda of the event. Therefore, I would like to invite Mr. Rob Fenn, the head of mission for the British Embassy of Jakarta, to also be able to give his welcoming remarks for us today. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Rob Fenn.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, colleagues. We've just heard two fantastic speeches. Bapak Anies Baswedan, thank you for your leadership in this field. It's always clear when a leader knows his subject, and you've mastered all the alphabet soup around the coalition that is trying to support you brilliantly. And representative of Minister Arifin, Agus Cahayana, similarly, I feel in the company of absolute expertise here and rather modest in my own understanding of the political and economic forces which we are trying to harness to make Jakarta a model of transition to low carbon transport. I'm delighted also to be sharing this platform with Germany, Ambassador Marina Berg. Germany, an absolute leader in renewable energy and leadership in the climate space. The Ambassador of Sweden, likewise. Sorry, I got the names wrong. Ina Lappel is my German colleague. The Ambassador of Sweden is Marina Berg. Both countries which rather earlier than the UK, I think, got the green message. But the UK is now in the chair of COP26 for the rest of this year. And we are determined to do our duty to the international community and to the next generation. Also, Heather Thompson from ITDP, who is integral to this work. Here we are to discuss how to accelerate DKI Jakarta's transformation into a sustainable city. The latest example of the UK's commitment to this agenda came in the visit last week by my Minister for International Trade, Anne-Marie Trevelyan, who had a very good meeting with Governor Anies Baswedan on this and connected subjects. Last year, through our technical assistance program, collaboration, and all manner of programs between the British Embassy and DKI Jakarta, we have strengthened our commitment to encourage cities like this in Indonesia and around the world to achieve emission reduction and ideally net zero transport. The presence of country representatives and donor organizations at this watershed webinar today emphasizes that we are part of a growing movement. For DKI Jakarta, it is obviously pivotal that we help this city achieve its net zero target by 2050. With the Institute for Transportation Development and Policy, ITDP, the UK delivered 2 Green Recovery Challenge Fund funded projects And this was under a funding mechanism, which I'm very glad Bapak Anies has got in his repertoire, the UK Partnering for Accelerated Climate Transition, or UK Pact. I hope colleagues will be hearing more from us and from UK Pact over the months and years ahead. The programs we are already embarked on acknowledge transportation as one of the major emission contributions in Indonesia, and that one way to address this issue is to encourage electric vehicle adoption. And this has also is part of the strategy at the national level of the government of Indonesia. Very briefly, the details of the two programs that we are doing with DKI Jakarta under the Green Recovery Challenge Fund. The first is to build capacity and an action plan to scale up Transjakarta e-buses. And the second is to develop a roadmap and a timetable for two-wheelers electrification in Greater Jakarta. On the Transjakarta project, as the governor just said, we are seeking to develop a large-scale electrification roadmap along with its comprehensive action plan through to 2030. This has developed policy recommendations at the national and subnational level to ensure the sustainability of Transjakarta large-scale electrification program. And today's workshop will be followed by a series of knowledge sharing, capacity building and dissemination events on e-bus deployment in the coming weeks. On the second project, on e-two-wheelers, the project has collaborated with ride-hailing operators, the famous Grab and Gojek here, for them to be able to electrify their fleets in Greater Jakarta. This project is intended to kickstart large-scale adoption of electric two-wheelers in Indonesia's cities, as these are the main mode of transportation and therefore the largest polluter in the land transportation sector. In delivering these two projects, we will ensure that, and here is a wonderful slogan, that no one is left behind. So we will mainstream gender equality and social inclusion principles across both these projects to try to prevent additional safety issues that might result from future electric two-wheeler uptake and develop guidelines to integrate electric two-wheelers seamlessly into urban streets. I would like to announce today that the work with Transjakarta will extend until March 2023. It will focus on building regulatory and financial frameworks for Transjakarta's first phase of e-bus deployment. And this will include developing a full business case to increase the company's access to financing. Looking more widely, globally, it's obviously tremendous that Jakarta is fully plugged into the C40 Cities Finance Facility as part of supporting Transjakarta to implement the operational trial fleets as part of the 100 e-bus pilot project, which the governor mentioned. This project is paving the way for the upcoming rollout of more electric buses in Jakarta streets. And I appreciate the collaboration from other partners attending here today in support of DKI Jakarta. It really responds to Jakarta's own collaborative vision for the city. So to finish, the UK's commitment to supporting DKI Jakarta in this sector remains strong. Together with DKI Jakarta, we are preparing to continue our support in low carbon transport sector and other climate initiatives. We're keen to continue collaboration with DKI Jakarta through the C40 framework, and we will announce a new program on climate actions in the spring of this year. Thank you, colleagues, and I wish you every success with this vital seminar.
And thank you, Mr. Fen, for the wonderful welcoming remarks. And thank you as well for your wonderful wishes for a fruitful discussion this morning and also for our next workshops. So, ladies and gentlemen, we will continue to our next agenda, where I would like to invite Her Excellency, Ms. Ina Lepel, the Ambassador of the Federal Republic of Germany to Indonesia, ASEAN, and Timor-Leste, to give her welcoming remarks for us this morning. So, without further ado, please welcome Her Excellency, Ms. Ina Lepel.
Selamat pagi, good morning. Honorable Governor of Jakarta, Bapak Anies Basdewan, Special Advisor to Minister Arifin Tasrif of the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Resources, Mr. Agus Jayana, Mr. Rob Fenn, Head of Mission for the British Embassy in Jakarta, Her Excellency Marina Berg, Swedish Ambassador to Indonesia, Mrs. Heather Thompson, CEO of ITDP, government officials, representatives from ministries, regional and local governments, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Firstly, I would like to congratulate the city of Jakarta for hosting the U20 Mayor Summit in 2022. I am pleased to be part of the summit pre-event and join you in this Jakarta e-mobility event, reaffirming Jakarta's commitment to electrify public transport fleets and current efforts. For Germany, addressing the threat of climate change is a priority. In line with the Paris Agreement, Germany adopted a climate protection law in 2021 with the legally binding long-term goal to become largely greenhouse gas neutral by 2045. Achieving the ambitious targets of the Paris Agreement cannot be achieved by one country alone. It requires a massive and coordinated effort internationally and the transformation of economies in all countries. The transport sector is responsible for about a quarter of energy-related greenhouse gas emissions worldwide. By 2050, the share could rise to 70%. Enormous efforts to decarbonize the sector are required and urgent. Germany is strongly committed to work closely with Indonesia in supporting low-carbon, sustainable transportation, not only to reduce greenhouse gas emission, but also to provide cleaner air and improve health of the citizens. With its commitment to promote zero-emission public transport, Jakarta takes strong climate action in the transport sector. Jakarta, as we have heard, has been active to accelerate the switch from private vehicle use to public transportation. It has integrated the public transportation in the city through the Jaklingko system, developed pedestrian ways and bicycle lanes, as well as promoted the use of e-buses and bike sharing. As the Honorable Governor just said, and I must say, I have really been very impressed by the progress that has been made in short time. This all is essential as zero-emission vehicles are a central part of climate-compatible transport sectors. Germany supports Jakarta's commitment to accelerate the transition to electric vehicle use in public transportation through two cooperation projects on e-mobility development: the C40 Cities Finance Facility, CFF, and the TUMI e-bus mission. Let me first briefly speak on CFF, which in the past 2 years supported the city of Jakarta to prepare a finance-ready pilot project with the objective to improve air quality by integrating more e-buses on the Trans-Jakarta network, the city's award-winning bus transit system. And let me mention that I tried this and I was really impressed with the way it beat the traffic jam. To this end, CFF supported the city of Jakarta to prepare the 100 e-bus trial, a pilot phase towards full electrification of Trans-Jakarta's bus fleet in 2030. We are delighted to learn that Jakarta has 30 e-buses ready for operation on the streets, and the numbers will gradually increase to reach the target. Coming to the TUMI e-bus mission, cities such as Jakarta are key to transforming public transport. Thus, we are honored to continue our support to the government and Trans-Jakarta to accomplish the ambitious goal for the bus electrification and decarbonization of public transport. Starting in September last year, the city of Jakarta has officially joined the TUMI e-bus mission. TUMI the Transformative Urban Mobility Initiative is the central implementation partnership funded by Germany that promotes a sustainable, climate-friendly transport sector worldwide. The overall goal of the TUMI e-bus mission is to enable the procurement of up to 100,000 e-buses in partner countries by 2025. The cities of Medan, Bandung, Surabaya, and Semarang have recently been invited to become part of the TUMI e-bus mission to participate in training and peer-to-peer exchange. TUMI, incidentally, has been active also in Ukraine, another important partner and forerunner when it comes to sustainable mobility. Our thoughts and solidarity are with our colleagues and partners there. Overall, we are convinced that we all need to shift the way we plan, finance, and implement urban infrastructure in the future. Indonesia's impressive socio-economic development over the past 2 decades has brought with it a substantial impact to the environment. Widespread congestion, excessive pressure on water supplies, as well as growing amounts of wastewater and solid waste are among the most pressing challenges. Against this background, Indonesia and Germany have jointly launched the Green Infrastructure Initiative. It encompasses a 5-year financial cooperation facility of up to 2.5 billion euro to support environmental and climate-friendly infrastructure projects in 3 sectors: solid waste management, water and wastewater management, and urban public transport. The goal is to reduce 4 million tons of CO2 emissions per year. One project of the initiative is the climate-friendly expansion of public transport in Surabaya. 120 kilometers of new rail network are intended to connect up to 500,000 people every day to the central public transport system. Sustainable infrastructure is also a priority of the current German G7 presidency. Globally, the infrastructure gap is immense. About 940 million people have no electricity, 663 million no access to clean drinking water sources, 2.4 billion lack sanitation, 1 billion people live more than 2 kilometers from a year-round passable road. Germany will lead the work on the G7 Partnership for Infrastructure and Investment because sustainable infrastructure plays a central role in ensuring a just transition. The development of e-mobility for public transport has just started to grow. It is a complex challenge that requires combined and coordinated efforts from stakeholders. The city of Jakarta has shown by example how multi-stakeholder arrangement helps to promote e-mobility. I am delighted to see that Jakarta, the Indonesian government, and close partners such as the UK, UNEP, the ADB, C40, or ITDP share a vision for climate-friendly transport and combine their efforts. In this pandemic era, Indonesia's theme for its G20 presidency, Recover Together, Recover Stronger, should be our principle in moving toward green and just recovery. Germany will maintain its support for sustainable transportation, but also in the energy sector, as transitioning to renewable energy is the key to achieving zero-emission transport as well. I am very much looking forward to seeing electric public transportation operating on the streets of Jakarta as a bright example of local climate action. Thank you very much. Terima kasih banyak.
Terima kasih banyak. Thank you, Your Excellency, for the welcoming remarks. And now, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to invite Her Excellency, Ms. Marina Berg, the Ambassador of Sweden to Indonesia, to also give her welcoming remarks for us. Without further ado, please welcome Her Excellency, Ms. Marina Berg.
Thank you very much indeed, and selamat pagi, good morning. Honorable Governor Pak Anies Baswedan, thank you also from my side for an excellent speech and your clear leadership in green recovery. Also, Special Advisor to Minister of Energy and Mineral Resources, Pak Agus Tiahayana, thank you so much for your engagement. Also to my diplomatic colleagues, Excellencies Ina Lapel and Rob Fenn, and to the other diplomatic colleagues here today and international organizations, friends in the business community, Selamat pagi. I would like to start by congratulating the government of Indonesia and the provincial government of DKI Jakarta for hosting the G20 presidency this year with such clear vision, green and sustainable vision. I am confident that as the world economy is still being affected by the COVID-19 pandemic, collective actions and inclusive collaborations among all countries around the world are needed more than ever. Partnerships are needed to achieve a stronger and more sustainable world recovery. I therefore salute the Indonesian G20 presidency, echoing this need with the official tagline, "Recover together, recover stronger." Friends, Sweden and Indonesia enjoy excellent relations, and we will continue to expand bilateral cooperation in several sectors, including renewable energy, climate and environment, smart transportation, and blue economy. The Memorandum of Understanding on Sustainable Transport and on Energy between our two countries already serve as excellent vehicles to explore concrete ways of collaborating in the Jakarta public transportation sector, with the aim to accelerate green economic recovery and to build resilience. Through the annual Sweden-Indonesia Sustainability Partnership, SISP in short, we emphasize strengthened and deepened collaborations that align with our joint efforts to achieve the UN Sustainable Development Goals until 2030. The electrification of Jakarta's bus system is one of the most ambitious and exciting programs for Indonesia's development towards sustainability. And it shows very well, as the governor said, as a great example for the whole country, lovely Indonesia. In Sweden, we are on a similar journey of electrifying our public transportation systems, and we believe that there are many platforms for mutual learning and exchange of know-how. We also have several solution providers that are present already in Indonesia and ready to support. During the CISP week last year, Sweden declared its readiness to collaborate further with the provincial government of DKI Jakarta, specifically in the public transport sector. And as Honorable Governor Anies mentioned, Swedfund, the development finance institution of the Swedish government, is committed to provide support for the preparatory technical advisory, which will support the transition to the vision of full electrification of the public transportation fleets in Jakarta by 2030. The Swedfund study will focus on maximizing value added and bring customized outcomes to public transportation in Jakarta. Specifically, the study will establish the electrification infrastructure as the foundation of the Jakarta's ambitions. The study will be tailor-made with untied grant financing, and the scope of the study is now being finalized together with Transjakarta. Friends, I thank you for your attention, and I look forward to more collaborations in the future and fruitful discussions today and onwards. And I'm sure that we can build the ship while sailing, but only together can we achieve a stronger and more sustainable world recovery for the benefit of all. Terima kasih banyak.
Dan terima kasih banyak untuk Ibu Marina. Thank you, Your Excellency, for the welcoming speech. And yes, we can achieve it if we do work together. Thank you once again. And next, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to invite Ms. Heather Thompson, the CEO of the Institute of Transport and Development Policy, to also be able to give her welcoming remarks for us this morning. Please welcome Ms. Heather Thompson onto the screen.
Thank you. Good morning to all, or good evening as it is here in the United States where I am calling in from. It's a pleasure to be with you all here today to help open this important gathering of the U20 hosted by Jakarta, Indonesia. Thank you to my distinguished colleagues providing remarks on the future of electric mobility in Jakarta and for all in the audience. I want to thank and congratulate Governor Anies Baswedan on his leadership in Jakarta to make it a forward-looking metropolis focused on environmental sustainability and social equity. To the many international governments that are providing their support for the economic development of Jakarta, including the UK, Germany, and Sweden. And thank you to the experts that will follow these welcome remarks, providing updates from the local perspective on the progress Jakarta is making on electric mobility, and from the international experts, C40, the German TUMI e-bus mission, ICCT, UN Environment, and others, who are providing support for Jakarta's progress. In particular, I want to thank the UK government and the German government for their financial support so that we at ITDP can continue to provide technical support to Jakarta and other cities throughout Indonesia to scale up electrification of e-buses and 2- and 3-wheelers. Personally, I have been visiting and following Jakarta's progress for more than 2 decades. And the change is truly remarkable. I hope many other metropolitan regions and supporting partners are joining this session to be inspired by Jakarta's progress. Electric mobility is just one of the more recent areas of progress that Jakarta has made as a lighthouse city in the area of sustainable and equitable transportation. It is my honor to be here today as the CEO of the Institute for Transportation and Development Policy. ITDP is a global nonprofit organization headquartered in New York City with offices around the world, helping cities to improve transportation systems and urban planning for environmental, sustainable, and social equity. ITDP has been engaged in the city of Jakarta for almost 2 decades. We are proud of what we have helped the city accomplish, including helping with the development of one of the most successful bus rapid transit systems in the world, Transjakarta, which served more than 1 million passengers per day at its peak just before the COVID-19 pandemic challenged public transit systems around the world, including in Jakarta. Bus rapid transit is the core of an economically efficient approach to scaling up public transportation. Jakarta has pioneered an innovative approach to BRT that integrated numerous informal minibus fleets to expand the service of the BRT to meet the needs of millions of people throughout the city. Jakarta focused on the integration of the BRT system in the new metro system, further building upon the success of their wise public transit investments. They have launched an integrated digital fare system, the Jaklingko system, that allows users to move from one transport system to another using one digital fare system, a fundamental that is integral to the success of scaling public transit systems, including electrification. For these reasons, in 2021, Jakarta was awarded the Sustainable Transport Award. The Sustainable Transport Award is granted by a prestigious international committee, which includes the World Bank, World Resources Institute, the Asian Development, ITDP, and others. Each year, ITDP and the Sustainable Transport Award Committee select a city that has implemented innovative sustainable transportation projects in the preceding years. Cities are evaluated on their strategies to improve mobility for all residents, reduce transportation greenhouse and air pollution emissions, and improve safety and access for all. Jakarta has made tremendous strides on all of these criteria and hence was awarded this prestigious award. It was an honor to celebrate and learn from Jakarta's success throughout 2021 with the virtual Sustainable Transport Award Summit Series, which you can view online at staaward.org. Jakarta continues to build on these successes. In 2021, in the aftermath of the COVID-19 pandemic, Jakarta focused on further improving the resilience of their transport systems. Like so many pioneering cities, Jakarta turned to focus on cycling as a healthy, accessible alternative to transportation. The city committed to building 500 kilometers of network of protected bike lanes and has begun the development of this essential infrastructure. The understanding of how essential protected bike lanes are to the health of a city came even more apparent during the pandemic. And I was lucky to be there when the first protected bike lanes demonstrations broke ground even before the pandemic in 2019 with an inaugural bike ride with Governor Anies Baswedan and numerous partners and advocates for the system. Cycling can be a safe alternative to moving people in the city, especially for first and last mile connectivity to the metro and BRT system. Cycling serves as an accessible, resilient transportation alternative and is affordable to all. A new bike share system has been launched, which is a key pillar of making biking a success, such as in cities like Paris and New York City have done. Jakarta has also focused on the essential fundamentals of the pedestrian environment, which is so critical to ensuring cities have safe and accessible for all. Areas around metro stations have been improved to allow for better access to walking, including for people with disabilities. So many cities forget to focus on this essential ingredient, but Jakarta is showing the way with improvements to public space that make walking safe and inviting. Jakarta has now committed to transitioning their bus Transjakarta fleets to 100% electric by 2030. This is a huge challenge, and it is wonderful to have Jakarta as one of the pioneering cities in the world making waves in this important arena. We are proud to be part of this movement with the support and partnership of many of the partners here today. Electric buses are now being piloted in the city to collect important data on performance, which will be used as the basis for critical decisions for ramping up the fleet over time. Jakarta will set forth one of the great examples for other cities to follow as we rid the transportation sector of the fossil fuels that riddle the health of our planet. Along with this direct focus on electrification, Jakarta is also committed to implementing an electric road pricing scheme and expanding low emission areas, which can further support the adoption of clean electric vehicles, including with the ride-hailing Grab and Gojek two-wheeler motorcycle fleets. We will also engage directly with these companies to enable the conversion to electric fleets. I truly hope that Jakarta will implement these advanced mechanisms, joining the ranks of cities like Singapore and more notably, London and Stockholm, like our partners here today. We need more cities to focus on such interventions to help limit the number of vehicle kilometers traveled, making it easier to truly electrify the remaining vehicles with clean, renewable energy. Jakarta sets forth an example of all the ingredients we need for sustainable, equitable transportation for the future. We need all of these ingredients: a focus on compact city development, along with public transportation, walking and cycling at the core, along with electrification to stave off climate change and to make cities equitable for all. Electrification alone will not get us to our climate goals. ITDP, in partnership with UC Davis, recently released a groundbreaking report which modeled data scenarios to meet our global climate targets. The report found that electrification alone cannot meet our climate targets. Electrification must be combined with a focus on compact city development, public transportation, and walking and cycling to meet our 1.5 degree C targets. Essentially, we must keep the number of vehicles on the road to a minimum and electrify the rest. This will also minimize the burden on the electricity grid, which is a huge challenge to green with clean, renewable energy. In particular, if we focus our investments in electrifying public transit, we make the challenge easier, and we maximize the benefits for the greatest number of people and for the climate. It is great to see that Jakarta is following this recipe for success for the Metropolitan of Jakarta and for the planet. It is an honor as ITDP to be providing support to the city of Jakarta in this transition to 100% clean and green electric public transit. As Governor Anies Baswedan once said, which has been an inspiration for me since I heard it, private vehicles divide us, public transport unites us. Let's invest in the electrification of our public transport systems and provide benefit for all, setting an example for the world. As ITDP, we are proud to provide this support and to share the lessons learned from Jakarta's success on e-mobility for the entire ITDP team and for all of our partners and cities we support worldwide. Thank you for your support, and I look forward to the rest of the discussion.
Thank you as well, Ms. Thompson, for the welcoming remarks. And yes, private transport divide us and public transport do unite us. And now, as you have mentioned before, we will move on to the discussion or the second session for today. But before we do so, I would like to invite all the panelists and speakers of the first session to first please take a virtual photo. Therefore, I would like to kindly invite all the speakers from the first session to please appear once again on screen, where we will have a virtual photo session. Once again, I would like to invite the Governor of Jakarta, Bapak Anies Baswedan, Mr. Agus Cahayana, Her Excellency Ms. Ina Lapel, Her Excellency Ms. Marina Berg, Mr. Rob Fenn, and also Ms. Heather Thompson to appear on screen. And I would like to count down, for we'll take 2 pictures together on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. We'll take it once more. I believe Mr. Rob Fenn has just rejoined. I will make sure and take a look here at our gallery to see if everyone is ready for our virtual photo session. It appears to all the speakers of the first session is now ready. On the count of 3, we'll take the first picture. In 1, 2, 3. Once again, 1, 2, 3. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, speakers and panelists of the first session, for the wonderful welcoming remarks and also for the keynote speech. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we have ended our first session for today. Thank you for your valuable insights and also your experiences shared with us. And as mentioned before, we do hope for a wonderful and also fruitful discussion, which we will start in just a moment for the discussion. But before we do so, I would like to kindly remind you that we do have an interpretation feature available for your use, where if you would like to listen to the discussion in Bahasa or English, you can do so by clicking on the interpretation button that is located on the bottom of your screen of your Zoom application. And if you would like to use the Bahasa Indonesia feature, you may choose the Bahasa Indonesia or the Indonesian button. And if you would like to use the English language, you may use the English under the interpretation button. And we would like to also remind you that to ensure the smooth running of our event, please do mute the audio of your gadget. And please also make sure that you have a stable internet connection. All right, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, we will begin our second session, which we will have presentations and also handover of finding and disseminations with our speakers, with Mr. Shafrin Liputo, Ms. Sri Haryati, Mr. Gerd Fleischer, Mr. Jens Giersdorf, Mr. Sambit Nayak, Mr. Francisco Posada, and Mr. Ahmad Safruddin. And also there will be closing remarks from Ms. Faila Sufa. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, we will begin our second session, or the discussion of DKI Jakarta's commitment to electrify public transport fleets and current efforts, by inviting Mr. Syafrin Liputo, the head of Transportation Agency DKI Jakarta, to present his keynote speech. So without further ado, Mr. Syafrin Liputo, the screen is yours.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Lala. Good afternoon, honorary guests, ladies and gentlemen. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Izin share screen ya. First of all, I would like to thank God for His blessing, so we can meet today in this event, Jakarta e-mobility event, high-level ceremonial event on DKI Jakarta's commitment to electrify public transportation fleets and current efforts. As the host city of the Urban 20, and as a part of our commitment to reduce greenhouse gas emission and mitigate the effects of climate change, we are pleased to inform you our efforts and achievement to shift our public transportation to cleaner modes, as it has been proven that the transportation system is one of the largest contributors for pollution in Indonesia. Slide. As a metropolitan city, Jakarta facing problems in transportation such as low ridership of public transportation, takes time to reach places, implicates to enormous losses due to traffic jams and more. Now, become worsening by COVID-19 pandemic cause decreased people trust on public transport. Slide. Ladies and gentlemen, we are starting to fight against our big challenge on transportation problem by shifting the development paradigm from car-oriented development to transit-oriented development, where we prioritize pedestrian and non-motorized transportation. We optimize and integrate all modes of public transportation services, and we promote and make use of low-emission vehicles. Besides trying to constrain the motorized vehicle by providing this incentive. Slide. Based on that, furthermore, on the strategic level, we have 5 strategies to reduce our carbon emission, especially from transportation sector, by collaborating with all stakeholders related. We start promoting active transportation, improving public transportation, encourage the use of clean and energy efficient vehicles, implementing policies for reducing use of motorized vehicles, and smart ground land management. Slide. Here is some progress of our reformation during the period 1918 to 2021, which can be seen and enjoyed by all citizens of Jakarta. Among others, we are promoting e-buses to substitute the current Transjakarta fleet. We conducted 2 e-buses trial with and without passengers, and conducted 30 buses for pilot project during 2021 to 2022, and will gradually transform all our fleet until 2030. Slide. The first step of implementation of low emission vehicles Jakarta have been prepared several regulations regarding the operation of electric bus based on Presidential Regulation Number 55/2019. Slide. Jakarta has shown our commitment to shift public transportation to cleaner modes, starting from pledging to only procure electric buses for Transjakarta fleets from 2025 in C40 Green and Healthy Street, Fossil Fuel Free Streets Declaration, and most recently in Governor Regulation 90/2021 on low emission, low carbon development plan Jakarta. Transjakarta has also committed to procure 10,000 e-buses by 2030 in their long-term corporate plan document. Ever since, a number of technical assistance programs by various institutions have been conducted to assist Jakarta in achieving the city's public transportation electrification plan. Slide. Therefore, we have Jakarta e-bus project timeline. In 2021, we have a complete the trial phase 1 and 2, followed by evaluation. And the second, identification on location for e-bus charging station, and the further study on roadmap of vehicle electrification in Jakarta. In 2022, we have to provide preparation of depot, and then land provision for the charging station, and 74 electric buses are operated on the road. In 2022 and until 2030, we are targeting to full operating of electric bus for all Transjakarta fleet, around 250 services routes, and provision of its supported infrastructure. Slide. Ladies and gentlemen, there are several challenges encountered when we are carrying out the project, which included in technical, financial, and institutional, as well as regulation aspect. The challenges are on vehicle and batteries, agencies and operators, and charging infrastructure. Slide. The e-bus trial started in 2019 and finished at the end of 2020. 2 e-buses traveled the Block M Kota Corridors road with no charge. Based on this trial, there are several things to consider, namely vehicle legality requirement, suitable vehicle specification, suitable operation routine, and detailed elements, financing and funding, and other aspects related. Slide. The location of the charging station is another thing to think about. Based on site selection criteria, we have options from existing terminal and public facilities or to utilize other assets. Slide. Meanwhile, they encourage people to buy and use electric vehicles. The government has provided incentive in the form of vehicle tax relief. We call it BBNKB, exemption from the odd even policy, and encourage business mechanism of Transjakarta electric bus fleets investment using rupiah per kilometer in collaboration with public transport operators. Slide. The institutional that have conducted technical assistance in this project, among other, are Climate Technology Center and Network, or CTCN, in collaboration with Ministry of Environmental and ITDP, Transformative Urban Mobility Initiative, or TUMI, which monitor and evaluated the e-bus pilot project Transjakarta, C40 Cities Finance Facility in collaboration with GIZ, United Kingdom Partnering for Accelerate Climate Transition or UKPEC and International Council of Clean Transportation. On this occasion, I would like to express my deepest gratitude for the technical assistance provided, and I hope that this effort will produce the greatest benefit for the people of Jakarta. Slide. Ladies and gentlemen, that's all I can say about the timeline electrification effort in Jakarta and continuation between activities. For the closing, we see that cities should lead the way in the race against unsustainable practice in urban development. Jakarta, therefore, Jakarta affirms its commitment to truly transform to initiative sustainable mobility through promoting electric buses for public transport. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Terima kasih, Mr. Liputo, for the keynote speech. Thank you. And please do stay with us. And ladies and gentlemen, next we will move on to the next agenda, which is C40 Cities Finance Facility, the handover and finding disseminations. Therefore, I will allow Mr. Gerd Fleischer to present the C40 CFF project highlights.
Yeah, good morning, selamat pagi. This is the presentation about the contribution of the C40 Cities Finance Facility. Can I have the slides, please? Okay, the C40 Cities, yeah, next please. The C40 facility is supporting the city of Jakarta to implement an operational trial fleet of 100 e-buses in the network of Transjakarta to contribute to Jakarta's target of promoting public transport mode share to 60% as well as to 100% electrify Transjakarta's fleet in 2030. The governor, Pak Anies, has clearly renewed his commitment to these targets, and I'm very grateful that we are all coming together with different partners and with different donors, with international agencies, and also with the government representatives to continue to work on this. And the C40 Cities Finance Facility has laid the ground for some of the elements that we need for this. Next slide, please. So our support is on stakeholder management and project management, on providing technical advice on systems options and the technical setup of e-bus operations, to develop the business case. Governor Pak Anies mentioned already that e-buses in the beginning are higher costs, but we also have to consider the externalities. It was mentioned several times, congestion has gone down. Congestion is a factor which is normally not figured into business calculations. So if we calculate for these business, for these externalities, I think we come to a different cost-benefit ratio. We also identified applicable feasible financing options, the co-benefit analysis, and the procurement strategy. So the total reported GHG emissions are mentioned here, and also the finance leveraged. Next, please. So there are signs of transformation, and with Transjakarta and the government of DKI Jakarta, we worked actively on bringing this e-bus trial on the ground. Next, please. So what we have is technically sound, finance-ready project and comprehensive social cost-benefit analysis. Despite starting the project at the peak of the pandemic in 2020, the strong commitment of Jakarta and the CFF enabled a seamless transition to virtual formats. So we could continue smoothly with bringing this support on the ground. Transjakarta also promotes the recruitment of female drivers based on the 30% quota. So this is about inclusion and leave no one behind. as mentioned before. We had a webinar series on e-mobility that attracted more than 200 participants from cities, national governments, NGOs, academia, and financiers from around the world. And there was also fruitful city-to-city learning sessions with Auckland Transport, New Zealand, King County Metro, EMT Madrid in Spain, and Land Transportation Authority, Singapore. Next, please. Next slide, please. So we are also very grateful to Transjakarta and the government of DKI Jakarta for participating in a mentorship program with the provincial government of West Java province on BRT development electrification. So this is not all support is not only for Transjakarta and the Jakarta region, but we aim on nationwide impact. So this is a first step towards helping also other regions, other provinces in Indonesia in moving towards sustainable urban transport. We also have, from GIZ side, we also have other projects on BRT corridor development in 5 cities, and also on BTS by the service project, where we work with a number of cities in Indonesia, all across Indonesia. Next, please. So we all know political leadership makes a difference. So the city is highly committed, and we are very grateful for this. The governor, as mentioned before, issued 2 regulations that facilitated the e-bus rollout. So we could achieve a lot. Our lessons learned are we have to institutionalize regular coordination with the partner city, transport agency, and consultants to help to build trust and identify precise capacity needs and measures. This was not so easy during the pandemic because in many instances, physical encounters, seminars, meetings we were barred from. So we could have a stopgap and mitigate through virtual meetings. But in the future, it's important that we overcome these restrictions and have also more physical meeting. A complete set of available data reduces the project preparation time, so we know this for our next projects. When accounting, as mentioned before, when accounting for the environment and public health benefits, they offset the seemingly higher costs for e-buses. So this, we also need data on this to make the case for a e-bus procurement. And the city officials suggested that more emphasis should have been put on the financial modeling. So first assessing the funding sources and then respective timelines as well as the requirements. But we also achieved best practices that we can share. So there's a need to establish a permanent project implementation unit to coordinate all efforts and to lead such a complex transition. And the PIU for the e-bus project is now mandated to oversee all e-mobility efforts in Greater Jakarta region. So this is something where we could also share as best practice for other projects. Next, please. So this is now the handover of our experiences and of the guides and also the e-buses to during this e-mobility event. And I would like to officially hand over now to Ibu Sri Haryati. So thank you very much. Terima kasih banyak.
Terima kasih banyak. Thank you, Mr. Gerd Fleischer, for presenting the findings. And before we move on to hand over the findings and also dissemination, I would like to allow Ibu Sri Haryati to respond and also share her thoughts on the findings that has just been presented. To Ibu Sri, the time and screen is yours.
Thank you for the opportunity. Your Excellency, Special Advisor to Minister of Energy and Mineral Resources of Republic Indonesia, Your Excellency, British Ambassador to Indonesia and Timor-Leste, Your Excellency, Ambassador of the Federal Republic of Germany to Indonesia, ASEAN and Timor-Leste, Your Excellency, Ambassador of Sweden to Indonesia, distinguished partners from C40 CFF, and other collaborators, ladies and gentlemen. In September 2019, the government of Jakarta declared its commitment to operate zero-emission buses by 2025 and ensure that most of Jakarta's area is emission-free by 2030 in green and healthy street. That's the C40 fossil fuel-free street declaration. We have pledged our initiative to implement 100 electric buses on the existing road of Transjakarta as a pilot stage of e-bus deployment in Jakarta. And also, we replace half of Transjakarta's bus fleet with electric buses gradually before 2025. And implement 2 low-emission zones in Jakarta's major area and accelerate push policies as part of our transportation demand management measures. The transition to electric buses in Jakarta will be divided into several implementation phases: pre-trials, pilot deployment stage, and large-scale deployment stage. In preparation for our transition to electric buses, the government of Jakarta has been conducting pre-trials for several electric bus models for low entry and medium bus since 2019. And during the pre-trial phases, Transjakarta is ensuring that each tested bus model complies with the level of service standard in the regulation, has robust safety procedures, and also gathers operational data for further planning stages. Following the pre-trials and prior to entering the large-scale deployment phase, we have decided to conduct a pilot project phase for 2 years. The pilot project phase is intended first to provide the most suitable technology and select the appropriate charging strategy and various roads, and to observe and evaluate various costs on the electric bus to reassess the total cost of ownership later, and also to improve the readiness of bus operators for large-scale e-bus deployment. We acknowledge and highly appreciate for CFF support, especially in supporting the planning of 100 pilot e-buses, which include technical assistance in addressing legal, financial, and technical barriers of the pilot e-bus deployment. We look forward to integrating the studies from CFF to accelerate the implementation of our pilot e-bus deployment phase. E-buses are relatively new technology in Indonesia, including in Jakarta. Continued support, assistance, and capacity building, especially at the later stages of procurement and financing, are needed to make e-bus deployment operation run smoothly. We are keen for further collaborative action with various stakeholders and international cooperation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ibu Sri. And now next, we will continue to the handover of the findings from C40 CFF to Ibu Sri. Therefore, we would like to invite once again on screen Mr. Gerd Fleischer and Ibu Sri Haryati to take a picture together to symbolize the handover of the C40 CFF project to the Economic and Finance Assistant of Jakarta Provincial Secretary. So we will take a picture first in 1, 2, 3. And probably once again with Ibu Sri with the hard copy of the findings that has been sent to Ibu Sri. In 1, 2, 3. Thank you, Ibu Sri Haryati, and thank you, Mr. Gerd Fleischer, for sharing the findings, and also thank you, Ibu Sri, for sharing your response and also your remarks. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we will continue to the next agenda, which is the handover and also finding dissemination from the UNEP-CTC. Therefore, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to welcome Mr. Sambit Nayak to present the findings for us this morning. Mr. Nayak, the time and screen is yours.
Sorry, I was on mute. Thank you, Sarah. I would first like to start with a congratulation note that Team Jakarta has achieved such a milestone towards the low carbon transport, and also to the collaborative effort of all the partners that has enabled Jakarta to achieve these milestones. And I hope this will continue towards achieving the commitment in 2030 and beyond to have net zero Jakarta in future. So with this, I would like to share my screen and show the presentation. Can you please confirm that you can see my screen and the presentation?
Yes, we can. Mr. Nayak, you may proceed.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. So today I will be presenting quickly the overview and the highlights of CTCN technical assistance on supporting Jakarta's transition to e-mobility. Thank you so much for having us today, inviting us today for this high-level ceremonial event. Before I start sharing the highlights of the project, I would like to quickly have a look on what CTCN is. CTCN is an implementing arm of UNFCCC technology mechanism. So it works very closely with its partner, which is responsible for policy arm, which is Technology Executive Committee. And CTCN is having a network of more than 600 technology solution provider through which it facilitates the technology transfer. So the overall objective of CTCN is to promote the accelerated development and transfer of climate technologies for energy efficient and low carbon and climate resilient development at the request of developing countries. So we are country-driven approach, we are country-driven mechanism, and we work in 3 different services that are technical assistance, knowledge sharing, collaboration, and networking. Of course, technical assistance comprises the large bandwidth of the work, and we offer support both on mitigation and adaptation. CTCN as a mechanism is co-hosted by United Nations Environment Programme and UNIDO. Now, let me take you through a bit of context and the implementation status of supporting Jakarta transition to e-mobility. So as I mentioned, this is CTCN is a country-driven approach, country-driven mechanism. So we were approached by provincial government of DKI Jakarta, who are the project proponent, who requested the technical assistance through our national designated entity, which is in case of Indonesia is Ministry of Environment and Forestry. In response to that, UNEP partnered with CTCN to design the response plan and the terms of reference to support the e-bus deployment. Through the UNEP, through the UN competitive bidding process, we selected ITDP as the implementing partner, and the implementation began in March 2020. There was a very important stakeholder consultation, which is already mentioned in the previous discussion. In August 2020, it engaged various partners, and it increased the awareness among various stakeholders and public about the Jakarta intention and commitment towards low carbon transport. And then, as you can see, this technical assistance is completed with a roadmap and the investment plan with the business models and financing mechanisms which were developed for Transjakarta's fleet electrification in March 2021. And the final closure was achieved in June 2021. Just for the information of the audience, all these reports are also available publicly for public reference. Going next to the outcomes and the impacts, I will quickly take you through the broad outcomes and the impacts of this project. So as a part of the electrification roadmap, which is prepared for 2030, it includes electrification of 1635 buses, which is almost 50% of the Jakarta bus fleet. And it came up with a supporting policy regime, charging facilities, grid infrastructure with potential opportunity to integrate rooftop PV. So this is one of the very important outcome where we also didn't ignore the grid integration aspects of the upcoming low carbon mobility. And we have also looked at the various grid integration issues and an option to develop captive solar rooftop PV so that it can support the supply to the fleet of electric vehicles, including buses. With these roadmap for 2030, there are a lot of infrastructure which are recommended, and it identified an investment opportunity of almost 1.4 million, including the capital expenditure and operational expenditure. And it also come up with various funding options, including grants, loans, and equities from the private sector. So it is intended that going forward, this should engage the private sector and leverage the funds and the equities from the private sector. Hence, there were many business models which were recommended, of course, based on various case studies from international case references, contextualizing it for Jakarta's case. And it includes leasing arrangements, utility ownership, transport as a service, and many other business models, which are staged in 4 different periods from now till 2030. Besides that, it also highlight the kind of GHG reduction the technical assistance is estimating, which is in the range of 10,000 tons of carbon dioxide equivalent per annum. Other than that, there are several environmental benefits which are highlighted in this report, which are from the tail emission of the current transport system in terms of particulate materials, sulfur dioxide, and nitrogen oxides. So as I mentioned, like the reports are available on the website. So I would encourage all the partners and the stakeholders to have a read and see in details, like what are the recommendations, what are the analysis which were undertaken. But here, having this opportunity where we were enlightened by a very good speech and encouraging speech by our respected speakers, I would like here to bring your attention a couple of way forward. Number one is that CTCN especially is having mandates from COP26 to have more elevated support to the climate technologies. So I would like to here highlight that UNEP CTCN can support the leveraging of resources from climate finance to support the implementation and the scaling up of the e-bus program in Jakarta, Indonesia, using various climate financing programs like GCF and JEF. And I would like also to resonate what the climate financing, how the climate financing community is looking at low carbon programs as on today. So I suggest, I recommend that there should be a cross-sectoral and integrated approach should be adopted towards low carbon mobility. So that the resilient transport infrastructure or the adaptation part of it should also be considered in the programs, having more additionality and having more attractiveness for the future funding. Besides that, the most interesting and the most encouraging part of the program of low carbon mobility in Jakarta is the engagement of various partners with their capacity and with their skill sets that they are supporting Jakarta towards low carbon transport. So we definitely would like to think about an approach to sustain the interlinkages amongst the program elements and continue the collaboration amongst the partners for the program implementation on the way forward. As I have heard from my colleagues from UNEP that there are a couple of programs they are supporting. So I would like to confirm here that we would like to continue support Jakarta and whole country on electrification effort, especially on low carbon transport like two to three wheelers electrification. And I also have heard from my colleague from UNEP that there is a program under UK Pact where we would like to continue our support and effort going forward. So with this, I will stop my intervention. And today I would like to formally hand over the findings and the report to Pa Safrin. Thank you so much.
And thank you, Mr. Sambit Nayak, for presenting your findings and also dissemination. And now, therefore, I would like to kindly ask Mr. Pa Safrin Liputo to give his response and also share his thoughts on the findings.
Thank you, Sarah. I would like to express my deepest gratitude for the assistance provided. Jakarta commitment to be truly transformed, to initiate sustainable mobility through the promoting electric buses for public transport. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Safrin Liputo. And next, we will be taking a virtual photo together as a symbol of the handover of the UNEP CTCN project to the head of Jakarta Transport Agency. Therefore, I would like to invite onto the screen Mr. Sambit Nayak and also Mr. Safrin Liputo. We'll take a picture on the count of 3 in 1, 2, 3. And once again, as we can see here, Mr. Safrin Liputo is also holding his hard copy of the findings, which have been sent to Mr. Safrin Liputo. Another picture in 1, 2, 3. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, Mr. Sambit Nayak, and thank you, Mr. Safrin Liputo, for sharing your remarks and also your response. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we will continue today's agenda with an introduction of TUMI, which will be presented by Mr. Jens Giersdorf. Therefore, I would like to pass the screen on to Mr. Jens Giersdorf with his presentation on the TUMI introduction.
Yeah, thank you very much, Sarah, and good morning here from Germany. I would like to introduce the TUMI eBus mission to you, as already mentioned by the German ambassador, Ms. Ina Lapel. TUMI is supporting Jakarta when it comes to reach its ambitious goals for eBus electrification of public transport. So very happy that Transjakarta signed a letter of intent in September last year to join the TUMI eBus mission. Next slide, please. As already mentioned also by Heather from ITDP, in COP last year, TUMI launched the TUMI Transport Outlook 1.5 degree, which shows that we have to act now. The remaining carbon budget for transport until 2025 is only 110 gigatons of CO2 emissions. This means that for the transport sector, we must reduce our emissions by 2030 by almost 50%. Next slide, please. This needs, of course, an electrification of all modes of transport, including public transport, including public buses. So these goals mentioned earlier today of net zero emission by 2050 by Jakarta is, of course, very important to reach these goals. Next slide, please. Let me briefly introduce to you the TUM IBAS mission. The TUM IBAS mission is a coalition of several partners: C40, ICCT, eCLAY, ITDP, GIZ, UITP, and the World Resource Institute. And the goal is support 20 deep dive cities around the world, establish a multi-city network until the end of this year of 100 cities, inspire more than 500 cities until 2025, and ensure by this the readiness of the procurement for 100,000 e-buses by 2025 in the Global South. Next slide, please. We are happy that Jakarta signed an LOI last year, and here's an overview of the different cities across the globe in Latin America, Africa, and Asia that joined the TUM IBAS mission in the past month and are working towards electrification of public transport. Next slide, please. Beyond Jakarta, we also pretend to work together with other cities in Indonesia and across the globe to build up regional networks of cities aiming towards electrification of public transport. And Jakarta, of course, is key to inspire other cities and to share the learnings, the lessons learned within TUM IBAS mission, but also from the other projects that have been working or are continuously working with Jakarta to support the electrification of public transport. We will also provide a global knowledge hub, a global knowledge platform, and a pool of regional experts for technical and legal support for cities when it comes to tendering electric buses. Next slide, please. The TUM IBAS mission assembles main institutions working towards electrification of public transport. So we're happy that this dream team of TUM IBAS mission is working together, building up on prior activities or ongoing activities, working towards e-bus roadmaps, technical assistance in the deep dive cities, building up global and regional knowledge hubs, and also building up coalitions with the main stakeholders from industry, from science, from transport authorities, cities, and so on. In Asia, 6 deep dive cities already joined this initiative. They assemble a fleet size of more than 2,500 buses and already committed to the electrification of 1,900 and 500 buses by 2025. Next slide, please. How do we work? We are working together with existing initiatives. We have a data-driven and scientific approach. We promote the exchange not only in Indonesia or in Asia, but between the different regions, exchange between Jakarta and Rio de Janeiro or other cities in which ITDP or other partners are working, for instance. We are supporting the cities when it comes to setting ambitious targets and to implement these targets, of course, in the case of Jakarta, and we are building up on existing and building new local partnerships. Next slide, please. As already mentioned, in the deep dive cities, we are focusing on building these robust coalitions of the private and the public sector. We establish city-specific sub-coalitions. When it comes to working with the cities, we support them in defining bus targets and strategic e-bus acceleration work plans, which includes a tailored technical assistance plan. Beyond Jakarta, in Indonesia and other regions or countries, we will also support many cities that will learn from the experience of the deep dive cities and support them with training and peer-to-peer exchange when it comes to e-bus planning, procurement, and operation. Next slide, please. In the case of Jakarta, building up on the prior initiatives that have been shared here today from UNEP, from UK Pact, in which ITDP and other partners, ICCT, have been working and continuously are working on towards electrification of public transport. The TUM IBAS mission will support the monitoring and the evaluation for Transjakarta of the 100 e-bus pilot, will realize a training needs assessment, will realize a route level analysis of bus energy consumption, and also develop a peer-to-peer knowledge sharing network with Jakarta and other coalition partners. And all these will be done by all these partners mentioned here. Yeah, next slide, please. Which you can see while ICCT and ITDP are focusing on the technical assistance. C40 cities is key for coalition building, and ECLA UTP for the scaling strategy, and GIZ and the World Resource Institute will also connect these activities with other ongoing activities in Indonesia and the region. Next slide, please. Additionally to this, we will also offer in the next half of this year a global digitization training, including courses focusing on IT systems for eBus projects, battery monitoring, charging station monitoring and charge management, depot infrastructure planning and management, and the scheduling and operation and monitoring of electric buses. And these courses will be open to all our deep dive cities and all our mentee cities from our network, of course. So let me thank you for this introduction to eBus mission, and thank you very much for this invitation to this very important high-level event today. Thank you very much.
And thank you very much, Mr. Giersdorf, for the introduction on TUMI. And next, ladies and gentlemen, we will continue with an introduction of ICCT, which will be presented by Mr. Francisco Posada. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Francisco Posada.
Thank you, Sarah, for the introduction. Thank you also to the organizers of the event. Congratulations also to the city of Jakarta for becoming this strong leader in the region in terms of moving forward the electrification agenda in the transport sector. The ICCT is a non-profit, global non-profit research organization that supports authorities and regulators in developing and implementing policies and programs in support of decarbonization efforts in countries and cities. Let's go to the next slide, please. So when we think about working with cities, they represent a big opportunity for pushing forward and faster the electrification agenda at a global level. What we have seen from our global experience observing the leading cities across the world, it shows that 25 cities are or represent almost 1/3 of all the electric vehicles already deployed around the world, which highlights the need for direct engagements with cities, supporting cities in developing and implementing electrification programs. I would like to connect this also at the end, these global experiences with the work in Jakarta. Let's go to the next one, please. So we have designed our global best practices for decarbonization of transport in terms of target setting, designing regulatory actions, monetary incentives, money transfer that can be provided to accelerate this, the aspects of infrastructure development and consumer awareness. So I will show a couple of examples regarding that are happening at the global level and how they connect with our work in Jakarta. Let's go to the next one, please. In terms of target setting, we have significant efforts at the national level. We have 18 governments that have already committed to phasing out passenger cars, which represent almost 20% of the global market. That is happening between 2030 to 2035, aligning with the Paris Climate Accords goals of the 2 Celsius, staying below the 2 Celsius growth. On top of that, we have other countries that also committed to partial banning of these internal combustion engine vehicles, like the US and China, which are also building slowly towards that goal of a full transition by 2050. Let's go to the next slide, please. That's for the passenger vehicles. For the heavy-duty vehicles, especially for buses, there is also a push by national governments and cities to help transition to electric buses and vehicles. And they have already defined the goals that are helping them achieve the greenhouse gas emission reduction targets in each of the countries. And in the last COP, there was an announcement by 16 countries that committed to working together to reduce, to adopt 100% electric buses and trucks by 2040, with an interim goal of 30% zero emission vehicle sales by 2030. So as you can see, there is a growing push, and the establishment of these goals shows that the increase of the interest at the global level in transitioning to electric vehicles. Let's go to the next one, please. Heavy-duty vehicles is a subsector, is a segment that is, let's say, the one that is sort of more challenging to electrify. However, there are some precedents already for heavy-duty vehicle electrification in California, where the Advanced Clean Trucks rule was adopted, which requires to manufacturers the sale of a fraction of heavy-duty vehicles to be put in the market. And this is complemented with Advanced Clean Fleets rule, which is creating a demand for those electric vehicles from the fleets, from the organizations that are going to purchase those electric vehicles. As you can see, there is a growth in terms of the number or the fraction of these electric vehicles over the next years. So let's go to the next one, please. So that's in terms of direct policies. In addition to that, we also help designing technical analysis in support of policy implementations. And in this case, this is a comparison for India for the total cost of owning and operating a vehicle in India for a ride hailing, a passenger car that is being used for ride hailing in a city in India, in Hyderabad, comparing the battery electric option with traditional gasoline, diesel, and CNG options, so how they compare to each other, and identifying what are the incentives or the value of the incentives that will be required from the national or the local government to be able to make these technologies more competitive. So that's how the technical analysis can support the policy decision making in the long term. Let's go to next, please. In this case, we were supporting also the state of Colorado. When we talk about electrification, the infrastructure is a big component of this process. In the state of Colorado, we help identify the needs for different types of charging equipment, level 2 and DC fast chargers, according to the projections on electric vehicle growth in the state. So we did a very granular, let's say detailed granular analysis of how many of these stations will be needed as the vehicle fleet will grow. And that is the representation of the number of these chargers over time, according to the expected growth in the electric vehicle stock in the state. So this is another piece of the puzzle that needs to be addressed to support electrification in the city, in Jakarta as well. Let's go to the next one, please. In terms of public awareness, which is another of components of this process of building towards electrification. We have the example from the Zebra project in Latin America that focus on the promotion of the adoption of zero-emission buses, electric buses in leading cities. We're focusing in 4 cities. We have been able to commit bus manufacturers and financial institutions to come together in support of these cities, Mexico City, Sao Paulo, Medellin, and Santiago de Chile. So we have 1 billion in regional electric bus finance commitment to support that for the purchase of those buses. We are reaching 991 already buses that have been purchased in Santiago, 2,400 electric bus committed already for purchase in Sao Paulo, and more than a dozen of manufacturers and investments that are committed to support this push for electrification in Latin America. Latin America is one of the regions that is growing the fastest in terms of electric bus adoption outside of China. So this is one region that Indonesia and Jakarta can look up to learn from these examples as well. Let's go to the next one, please. Let's keep this one. It's about heavy-duty vehicles, but let's skip it for the sake of time. And more closely related to the work with Transjakarta, which we are also supporting under the TUM initiative right now. This is an example of the work that we are already completing in Bangalore in India, where ICCT and UITP evaluated 29 BRT routes in terms of energy consumption in current buses. You know, we're talking about diesel and CNG buses, and we were able to model how those routes will behave with electric buses. What will be the response of the electric buses in those routes? Two different types of routes, urban and airport routes as well. Let's go to the next slide. So this is sort of the results of the analysis. So it's the same bus. Now we're talking about a 12-meter bus with a 320 kilowatt battery capacity. Each of the bars is one of the routes. Each of the bars represent the daily distance driven for that specific route. And each of the little brackets represent how the electric bus, the range of the electric bus for each of those routes. And that provides an idea of which routes are more easy to transition to electric buses for that specific 12-meter bus model, and which ones will require some additional adjustment in terms of additional charging opportunity, or which ones are really at a very challenging position to be electrified. So a more additional research will be needed to be able to deploy this specific bus in those airport routes. So this is the type of analysis that we want to bring into Transjakarta. Let's go to the next one, please. And this, to finalize our involvement with in Jakarta's transport electrification. This is a project that we are developing right now with the support of KPBB as our local partner. We have been working with them for several years, and they are instrumental in this process. And this is financed, again, as was presented before by the TUM initiative. Let's go to the next one. So the objective will be to support the government of Jakarta in developing this vehicle electrification roadmap and implementing activities in recognition of the city's strategic role in shaping electric vehicle policies at the national level. No? Jakarta, as the capital, is a strategic actor in this electrification at the national level. So we want to support as much as we can the city, and developing this roadmap will be one of these specific activities. Let's go to the next one. So then we are working right now in three main aspects. First, the tailpipe vehicle emission characterization of Jakarta diesel vehicle fleet, which supports the need for a transition to electric vehicles. Second, the Transjakarta bus fleet electrification, which has two components: a green procurement guideline for electric bus purchases and the work under the TUM initiative. And the third one is the definition of the Jakarta vehicle electrification roadmap. All of these activities are being carried out with the help of with support of KPBB. Let's go to the next one, please. So a little bit of details. This is kind of interesting. I wanted to share with the audience. This is a first of a kind remote sensing. We're capturing emissions with a remote equipment. And we partnered with the Institute of Technology of Bandung to measure the emissions. We captured more than 100,000 data reads from different vehicles during 1 month, including diesel trucks and buses. Data collected in 10 different locations with the cooperation of the PPJT, the Toll Road Authority. The data analysis is underway, so please be, we are going to be releasing the first round of analysis soon in the next couple of weeks. Let's go to the next one, please. Under the TUM initiative, we have the list of activities that we're going to be carrying out in 2022, starting with the route characterization with GPS data collection. for 6 different routes, Transjakarta routes, the corridor 1, 6, and 9, and then 2 or 3 different or more of the feeder type of routes that we're also going to be supporting. We already installed 7 GPS units, actually this yesterday, so we're in good shape on that process. From that, we'll develop the cycle analysis and route energy consumption and the driving range analysis, and from that we will move towards providing the total cost of ownership for those specific routes that we are going to be evaluating. Go to the next one, please. And this all concludes with the Jakarta Vehicle Electrification Roadmap, which will include a series of bilateral meetings with key agencies to discuss potential key policies for EV uptake in Jakarta, with a package of policy design for electric vehicle uptake by looking into all models of transport. We're talking about 2- and 3-wheelers, passenger vehicles, buses, and other commercial applications. Capacity building is also part of that, and the drafting of the electrification roadmap. So that's sort of the portfolio of activities that we are carrying out with the city of Jakarta and with Transjakarta in support of the electric mobility program for vehicles. And the next one, and I think that's the end. Thank you very much. Terima kasih.
Terima kasih, and thank you, Mr. Posada, for presenting the introduction of ICCT for us this morning. Thank you, Mr. Posada, once again. And next, ladies and gentlemen, we will continue our agenda with the introduction of KPBB, which will be presented by Mr. Ahmad Safruddin. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome onto the screen Mr. Ahmad Safruddin.
Thank you very much, Mbak Sarah, for the opportunity. And also thank you for City of Government of DKI Jakarta and also ITDP that's give us chance or opportunity to be here to present about our activities in relation to support the City of Jakarta to accelerate about the e-bus deployment here in Jakarta. Next, please. Yes, as a rationale for this activity is that the first about the problem of urban air pollution, and especially from the vehicular emission, whatever for the air pollution and also CO2 emission. In Jakarta, this is a bigger problem in last decade, and at least 58.3% of Jakarta people suffer by various air pollution related disease. And for that, people must pay the medical costs until around 3.9 billion US dollar. This is the data in 2016. And then in relation with the control strategy to mitigate vehicular air pollutant and also CO2, I think that's e-bus, that's something that's very important to be implemented here in Jakarta to mitigate whatever the air pollutant and also CO2. For the e-bus utility for efficiency, I think that something that is very important because as you know, that's e-bus that's rather expensive than a diesel bus or CNG bus like that. So this is very important if we can formulate the pricing, so we can got the total cost ownership, and finally we can also can serve with the e-bus with the appropriate of tariff for the passengers, and then also like how we can
Mr. Ahmad Safruddin, are you still with us?
to give the incentives deployment in Jakarta.
Yes, Mr. Ahmad Safruddin, can you please repeat the slide, the presentation of your last slide, where we experienced an error in the connection, Mr. Safruddin?
I apologize for that, sir. Yes.
No worries. Please proceed.
Yes, that's the current activities. Yes, as I mentioned before, we have submitted about the paper policy on the soot-free bus fleet for the Greater Jakarta. That's work together with the national government and also with the BPGT, like regional or Jabodetabek Transport Management Agency. And then we also prepare the interim TCO in relation to give the information about the total cost if we would like to invest or to operate the electric bus. And the third, public campaign to improve the clean and green buses. And the fourth is a policy draft on the sustainable public procurement. That's discussed in last year, and hopefully we can finalize that as a final draft and can be submitted to the city government and also another related agency. And the last fifth, social engineering to improve the culture on the non-motorized transport. This is also very important in relation to support the implementation of the e-bus in DKI Jakarta. And the next step, I think that's very important if we can also to conduct the policy formulation or policy reformulation in relation to sustain about the lower emission bus in DKI Jakarta. The next, please. Yes, this is the data from the city of DKI Jakarta, from the environmental agency. You can see in the slide that Jakarta has air quality concentration with PM10, PM2.5, ground ozone level, and also sulfur dioxide as the dominant parameters. I think that's something that's a very high of level of this parameter, and this dominant parameter has exceeded the standard. I mean, a national standard. The next, please. And look at this slide. Actually, this is an estimation about emission load in national level and also at the Greater Jakarta. At the national level, we can see that motorcycle is the biggest emitters for CO2. And then the second one is a truck, and the third is a bus, and fifth and fourth, this is fourth and fifth, that's a gasoline car and diesel car. And for the air pollution, that's motorcycle still number one as a polluter in national level, and secondly is the gasoline car, and the third is truck, fourth is the bus, and the next is diesel car, I mean the private car. Meanwhile, for the Greater Jakarta, we can see also in the slide that the truck is the number one of emitters for CO2, and number two is bus, third is motorcycle, fourth and fifth is gasoline car and diesel car. For the local air pollution in the Greater Jakarta, the biggest polluters is still motorcycle as in the national wide, and second is truck, the third is bus, and the next is gasoline car and diesel car. So I think that's look at this data. Actually, like motorcycle is also our big homework in the future in relation how we can to mitigate its CO2 or local air pollution, and also the bus. Something that's very important also to be mitigated in relation how to reduce its emission, whatever local air pollution or CO2. The next, please. And this is the milestone in relation how we can to accelerate about the bus deployment, especially through the policy reform. Of course, we thanks to all of agency, the institution that have worked for Jakarta in relation to collect the data, to make analysis, to present about the policy recommendation and others. Of course, we need to continue what has been done by all of our institutions with something that very important and also something that must be done on the policy reform level like that. So all of agency here in Indonesia, especially in DKI Jakarta, would be have like umbrella regulation to implement what we want, especially on the e-bus deployment. The next, please. And this is the scenario and how we can to achieve the to accelerate the e-bus deployment in Jakarta. And I think the mostly from us just thinking, just provide the science-based data, science-based analysis, and science-based recommendation. But I think this is also very important. If how we can to bring the science-based data analysis and also recommendation to be something that to be regulation in Indonesia like this. Besides that, we also need to escort the availability of the e-bus technology that's probably feasible to be implemented here in Jakarta. And secondly, also how we can to encourage LCEV, especially on the e-bus infrastructure, because this is also very, very important in relation how we can to implement this effort. The next, please. This is timeline. The next. And this is the challenge. I think probably we still forget that this situation at international level. We still have homework how we can to create a roadmap on the LCEV or LEV, low carbon emission vehicle. That's one side, and another side also how we can to create about the low emission vehicle, low carbon emission vehicle roadmap. It's mean how we can to formulate about the roadmap in the national side about how we can to adopt the motor vehicle with the
Mr. Safruddin, remaining time for presentation is 2 minutes.
Okay, thank you. Yes, yes, LCEV is how we can to provide the standard for motor vehicle. So I think that's very important if we can push this national government to finalize this roadmap. So like a city of Jakarta would we have an umbrella on the regulation. Direct, please. That's the conclusion. Yes, vehicular emissions still contribute the largest portion of the air pollution in the greater Jakarta. Of course, this is not Jakarta city, but also cover another satellite cities like Bogor, Tangerang, Bekasi, Depok, like that. And secondly, many effort on the air pollution and also greenhouse gas mitigation has been done, as I mentioned before. But I think we also need to do something in relation to continue what have been done by all of our institutions that work for Jakarta. And third, this is need to roll out of science-based analysis or recommendation to formulate, to reformulate like the policy, and then we will have the law and regulation to control vehicular emission and greenhouse gas in DKI Jakarta. So this is the my presentation. Hopefully, with the policy reformulation, we would have umbrella regulation. So all of part of a stakeholder would be have something to be addressed in relation to support the Jakarta in relation to mitigate air pollution and also CO2 from vehicular emission. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ahmad Safruddin, for sharing the introduction. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we have just finished our last presentation for today. But before we move on to the closing remarks for our first day on this event, I would like to invite all the speakers of the second session to please kindly appear once again on screen and prepare yourself for a virtual photo session. Once again, to Mr. Shafrin Liputo, Ms. Sri Haryati, Mr. Gerd Fleischer, Mr. Jens Giersdorf, Mr. Sambit Nayak, Mr. Francisco Posada, Mr. Ahmad Safruddin, and also Ms. Faila Sufa, to please kindly turn on your camera once more to take a virtual photo together. And let me see, has everyone prepared themselves? Please do smile into the camera, and I will count to 3 for 2 photo opportunities. For the first one, 1, 2, 3. And another photo opportunity in 1, 2, 3. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for taking the time and for sharing your insights. Thank you to all the speakers. And before we end our first day and to close our second session, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to kindly invite Ms. Faila Sufa to give the closing remarks for us this afternoon. To Ms. Faila Sufa, the time and screen is yours.
Thank you, Sarah. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening for all panelists and participants. First of all, I would like to thank all of you for joining our Jakarta e-mobility event day 1. It has been a great honor and pleasure for ITDP to support DKI Jakarta government to conduct a series of e-mobility workshops. As already mentioned, today's event is the first session of the workshop series and focuses on DKI Jakarta commitment to electrify public transport fleets and current efforts. For almost more than 3 hours, we had a comprehensive session on this topic. In the first sessions, we had representatives from the government of Indonesia and ambassadors, started with Bapak Anies Baswedan, Governor of DKI Jakarta. He mentions DKI Jakarta's commitment to electrify public transport fleets based on the C40 pledge on clean air declarations and climate commitments. He also pointed out the Jakarta commitments to transform Jakarta from a polluted and congested city to become a sustainable transport city and shifting the paradigm of mobility from car-oriented to people-oriented cities. And then it followed by welcoming remarks by Bapak Agus Cahyana, representative from the SDM. He mentioned about the launch of the G20 Energy Transition Agenda, including the roadmap of energy transition toward net zero emissions. In these sessions, we also had ambassadors from the UK government, German government, and also Swedish government. First, Rob Van, head of mission for British Embassy Jakarta. He gave overviews of current UK-PAC GRCF project in Jakarta, focusing on electrification of Transjakarta fleet and roadmap, and also timeline of electrification of ride-hailing two-wheeler services. He also announced the good news for the upcoming UK-PAC GRCF extension project, which will focus to support again Transjakarta on developing a regulatory and financial basis for the first phase of e-bus implementations. And then we have Ina Lapel, ambassador of the Federal Republic of Germany to Indonesia, ASEAN, and Timor-Leste. She explained about the overview of Germany's program to promote zero-emission public transport in Jakarta through C40 CFF and also TUMI e-bus missions. The C40 program focuses on supporting Transjakarta pilot of 100 e-buses, which ITDP also involved on this. And then while TUMI program is focuses on assisting the monitoring and operations of the pilot project of Transjakarta e-buses. And from the Sweden ambassador, Marina Berg, she introduced the kickoff and overview of the Sweat Fund project in Jakarta, especially focusing on the infrastructure to support the electrification of Transjakarta fleet. The first session was closed with a speech from our CEO, Heather Thompson. She mentioned Transjakarta progress on developing a sustainable transport system, including non-motorized transport and transition of public transport fleet to electric buses. And also, she mentioned about ITDP's involvement in supporting electrification program in Jakarta, including electrifying Transjakarta fleet and electrification of two-wheelers ride-hailing services. In the second session, we had focused on Jakarta government strategy to reduce carbon emission from the transportation sector and the timeline of the various efforts that have been made to aid the transition to electric mobility, specifically in public transport. This was explained by the head of transport agency, Bapak Safrin Liputo. We also had a handover ceremony in this session, first from the C40 CFF program on supporting Jakarta to conduct a pilot of 100 e-buses in Transjakarta services. And then the second handover was from the UNEP CTCN program on support for e-mobility transition in Jakarta, including the roadmap on Transjakarta e-bus from planning, operational, and investment aspect. Today's event was closed by the introduction of two new projects to support Jakarta's commitment to electrify its public transport. First is introduction of worldwide TUMI e-bus missions, and then the project of ICCT and also from KBBB. Last but not least, I would also want to highlight the upcoming UK-PAC GRCF extension project, which will be focused to support Transjakarta on developing the full business case for the first phase of e-bus implementations. Overall, today it was a great success for today's event, and I sincerely hope that you have enjoyed and found that today's workshop is informative and beneficial. I would like also to remind you that we will have our second session of workshop tomorrow. That workshop will focusing on global case studies and local policy review on electric bus development. Thank you for your participation and see you in the next workshop. Over to you, Sarah.
Thank you, Ms. Faila Sufa, for the closing remarks this afternoon. And distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, with that being said, we have come to the end of today's program. And as mentioned before by Ms. Sufa, we will continue our next agenda, our workshop session for the second day tomorrow on March 2nd. The workshop will consist of various speakers presenting their topic, and tomorrow will also be followed by a question and answer session. Therefore, we will start the session tomorrow at 9 a.m. Western Indonesia time. And we would like to also inform you that we will also be having a third and fourth day on March 9th and March 16th, 2022, with more workshop sessions as well. So please do kindly take note of the schedule, and please do join us again, especially tomorrow at 9 a.m. Western Indonesia time. And we wish you had a wonderful and fruitful discussion today, as well as we are waiting for your participation tomorrow. I, Sarah Wayne, thank you for your participation and your attendance today. And we look forward again in welcoming you tomorrow to our next workshop session. Please do stay safe, stay healthy, and see you again. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.